Hello, everybody. Welcome to round 13 of Grand Prix Philadelphia. Brian David Marshall here with Ben Stark. And what better city than Philadelphia for a little blood sport? We're watching two players at X and 2, John Finkel, a Hall of Famer, and Samuel Tharmaratnam, I believe top 16 at Grand Prix Richmond, fighting to the death.
And John has an incredible deck. I got to watch him draft, and, I mean, he's looking at a very good green-blue beatdown deck with 3 Swordwise Centaur.
But no turn 2 Swordwise Centaur here for John.
No, and this is really bad for his deck because his deck is really aggressive. His deck needs to be making its 2-drops. He's got a bunch of Feral Invocations. He's a, like 6/7 2-drops. I mean, he's a straight beatdown deck. That is what his deck is looking to do.
And here we see Samuel Tharmaratnam has come out with Satyr Rambler and a Wingseed Rider.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't get to see John's hand this game yet, but I'm not even sure that John can keep a hand that can't cast a 2-drop.
Oh, there's a Swordwise Centaur.
Yeah, obviously he must have drawn that this turn.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know what his opening 7 looked like, but I know that being on the draw first and playing nothing on turn 2 is a disaster for John's deck.
He doesn't consider trading here.
Well, I mean, it's a trade down, but, I mean, he must have something to put on that Centaur because, I'm pretty sure he has a couple invocations and I think a couple bestow cards. Yeah.
A pretty solid curve for Samuel here.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, it's tough for any draw to beat 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop when you're on the draw.
Especially when the 4-drop's Heliod's Emissary.
Right, it makes
one of
blocking.
the premium cards in the Thero set.
Oh yeah, one of the best uncommons in the set. It makes blocking near impossible.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a bad situation for John. He can't, bestow here and sit back.
No, which I imagine was his plan, to either bestow or enchant that Swordwise Centaur.
Yeah, he might have a Feral Invocation. We know there were a few of those in his draft.
No, this is a almost unwinnable game for John. Knowing his deck, I mean, he can muster, a Prescient Chimera next turn, but, I mean, it's just going to get tapped. I don't know.
He's already at 14.
Samuel's going to have virtually nothing else for John to be able to climb back into this.
John plays the Thassa's Emissary. There's no attack because he needs to trade for
Right.
that Heliod's Emissary. That's the only thing he can do
Yeah.
is give Samuel his choice of creature.
Yeah. And we saw Samuel just drew Titan Strength.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, so that means no matter what, the Emissary is not going to die, and that's more important. Samuel taking a moment to decide if he's going to really want to pump the Emissary versus the Wingsteed Rider, but I'm pretty sure he is, just to keep the Emissary going. Although what I don't get is why he tapped the Thassa's Emissary. I guess the Thassa's Emissary could block the Satyr Rambler, and then, but it just seems
force you to use the.
Yeah, and maybe I'm too greedy here. But it seems a lot more likely that it would have blocked the Heliod's Emissary, and you'd much rather kill the Thassa's Emissary than the Swordwise Centaur. But I guess in this position, Sam is so aggressive that he's not really that concerned with Thassa hitting him and drawing cards. Right. I don't know, though. I guess a block, given just all the tricks that do exist in this format, I guess a block on the Rambler is not that unlikely. Because, I mean, +2/+2, the Rambler still dies.
Right.
So it would have to be the +2/+0 in first strike, or the +1/+0, Coordinated Assault, or Rise, I think it's called.
Rise to the Challenge.
Rise to the Challenge, the +2/+0 in first strike. It would have to be one of those on the Rambler. So I don't know. I'm not sure what John would have done had he done that. I know my first instinct, though, would have been to tap the Swordwise Centaur and let the Thassa's Emissary block. Now John is getting a hit and draw cards.
Right. He's giving John a free card here.
Yeah, sure. It's definitely a close situation because I know that Sam doesn't mind giving John this card that much.
Right.
But I know that also it would be better if he wasn't. You know what I mean? If he had tapped the Swordwise Centaur and let the Thassa's Emissary block.
Oh. Okay, gets time to feed.
Yeah.
Hits the Wingsteed Rider.
Yeah, John's using cards, gaining life to prolong the game now.
Curious Follower's kind of interesting here, too.
Yeah. And Sam does have all land in hand. We just saw Sam's hand now. So John is actually not completely out of this game by any means. This game is interesting. So Sam has all land in hand.
Which is we were joking about that.
Yeah. So now, like, John's drawing extra cards off the Thassa's Emissary.
Which is not what you ever want to let John do.
No, and assuming John isn't too flooded, he might be able to stack up enough of a board to even stop that Heliod's Emissary from attacking. Kind of interesting because, you know, if Sam makes my play and taps the Swordwise Centaur instead, then this game could come down to what John blocks. If John blocks the Satyr or Rambler, then, you know, you lose your Rambler and you spend the Titan Strength there, but you take out the Emissary, and it's not that great for you. If John blocks the Heliod's Emissary with the Thassa's Emissary, it's great for you, right? You Titan Strength that, the Thassa's Emissary is gone. I think either way, though, that's the right attack because, you know, you really want to get that Emissary off the board, not the Swordwise Centaur.
Yeah, I mean, this is also just a really tough situation for Samuel because now with that Kiora's follower,
he can
untap the Thassa's Emissary
and block.
And then, like, Feral Invocate or, you know.
Yeah. And I think that we'll almost certainly see that this turn should Sam attack. I don't know if Sam will attack anymore. He might figure at this point, all I can do is pass, try and maybe block or double block that Thassa's Emissary. But if he does attack, I don't think he's going to be happy with the outcome.
Yeah. Says I will tap your Leaf Crown Dryad and attack.
Yeah.
Yep. And there it is. Thassa's Emissary untaps.
Yep.
I mean, there's only 4 of them in his deck, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah. We pretty much knew he was going to have that. I mean, Sam doesn't know that, but he does have to put him on something. Knowing John didn't have a 2-drop, he kept his opening hand. I mean, he didn't play anything there after drawing an extra card or 2 off the Thassa's. I mean, you got to put him on something, you know.
And it could be any number of things. It could be an ancient. It could be Aspect of Hydra. It could be Savage Surge.
The only reason I don't absolutely hate the attack is because it's almost a last-ditch effort at this point.
Sure. And now John's in attack and block mode with the Thassa's Emissary.
I mean, this game is all but over now. And what a turnaround for John. His back was against the wall. 2-drop, 3-drop Heliod's Emissary with the Titan Strength.
Right.
But it wasn't quite enough because the extra cards from the Thassa's Emissary, the extra life from the time to feed.
Right. And there was a decision there.
Yeah.
Right? There was a decision there. There were 2 unblocked creatures, and he chose to not engage the Thassa's Emissary.
Right. And it definitely cost him. I don't like to be results-oriented. You know, obviously, you know, my play would have worked out better this game. You know, I'm sure there's upside to Sam's play as well.
Right. Another Kiora's follower for John Finkel.
I just personally consider Thassa's Emissary one of the best uncommons, really powerful. And, you know, the ability to remove that from the board instead of a Swordwise Centaur is just so important to me.
What a comeback by John Finkel. His opponent went 2, 3, 4 with a trick.
With a trick, yeah.
You know, and really a premium, the one of the best commons and one of the best uncommons in Theros in that sequence.
He did draw a lot of land after the good start. I just have to wonder if, let's say he taps the Centaur and the Thassa's Emissary does even block the Heliod's Emissary. Is that enough for Sam to win that game, considering he drew pretty much all land the rest of the game?
Right.
But it might be, because then the Thassa's Emissary's gone. The Swordwise Centaur can't even time to feed very well. It's John's in a much worse spot.
Right.
It's a different game.
So you saw a Glimpse the Sun God tap down a Crow and Hoplite with Gorgon's Head and a Calvaldi Pegasus and bash in with everybody.
Yeah, without knowing the life totals, I presume this attack is putting the red-white player very low. I don't know who's playing right now.
This is Jackie Lee and Deshawn. Deshawn is at 1.
Deshawn
Baylock.
Baylock.
So again, both these players are on 30 points, so it's like 3-0 or bust.
Right. And going on the assumption that Deshawn can't kill Jackie, which might be possible with cards in Deshawn's hand, but isn't possible on board, then he's going to die because she has 2 flyers effectively when the Pegasus attacks, giving flying to the Traveling Philosopher,
Right.
and Deshawn only has the 1 flyer.
Have you ever successfully activated a God Favorite General?
No, I can't say that I have.
Yeah, me neither.
It's tough to do. He doesn't really attack that well.
Right.
It's not tough to block a 1/1. He has that old Scroll Thief problem that Thassa's Emissary doesn't have, of being very small and very difficult to connect with.
Chomper gets a little bit bigger.
So Jackie's at 8 here. So if he doesn't have like a lightning strike, then he's dead to the 2 flyers if she attacks. Or, I mean, there's other cards, certainly, but if he doesn't have a trick. If he did have a lightning strike, he could have just aided her, I believe, on his turn, so it's probably not that.
His deck has a lightning strike, 2 magma jets.
Oh, so maybe a magma jet? Would that be a one short of having killed her?
The hammer.
Yeah, a magma jet would make sense.
He also has Titan strength.
Well, Titan strength wouldn't make sense because he would still be dead and she could have been dead. But a magma jet would make perfect sense in this situation.
So get in with everybody.
Yeah, and he's at 1, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's got the 2 flyers, so he needed to have some magma jet or something to stay alive.
There.
Well, it didn't have to be pre-combat because he had the 1 flyer, the Cavalry Pegasus.
Okay.
He could magma jet the Philosopher, trade Pegasuses with her. He just he had to have it. But there wasn't much because, like, if it had been a lightning strike, he had 5 points of damage on the board, so he could just kill her since she was at 8 and tapped out. Pretty much exactly magma jet would have made sense.
There you get a look at John Finkel on your right, the just most money-winning player, most Pro Tour top 8s, just ridiculous numbers.
It's just incredible. I mean, I'm in the Hall of Fame. I have 4 Pro Tour top 8s. I assume that's somewhere around average, for a Hall of Famer, not for a Magic player.
It's kind
John
of
has
like the 3,000 hits.
Right. John has 14 Pro Tour top 8s. 14.
Just has you lapped by 10.
It's mind-numbing. I think if I played Magic for the rest of my life actively, I wouldn't have 14 Pro Tour top 8s.
Juniors Pro Tour 1.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. I honestly think right now I'm 30. I could play Magic until I was 60, and I would not have 14 Pro Tour top 8s.
I can assure you it gets harder on the other side of 30. All right, both players have capped, and we're underway. They're both on 6 cards.
Keeping it fair.
Cavalry Pegasus for the lands in front of Samuel Femeratum. John Finkel doing it the right way.
That's enough alone for me to root for John.
Swordwise Centaur this time for John on turn 2. Nyxborn Rollicker and Fly Over for 2. But no third land for Samuel.
Yeah. And that's an interesting attack because, if he left it back to block, if they traded, he would get the 1/1. So it would kind of effectively be trading a 1/1 for a 3/2 and not racing 3 for 2.
But he saw all those Feral Invocations.
He saw Feral Invocation last game. I mean, we know John has a lot of them, but I think he only saw 1.
No, he saw 2. He ended up
a second one at the end of the game.
Invocating another creature.
So you obviously don't want to leave yourself open to that. But at the same time, as you're falling behind missing land drops and you're trading 2 for 3, it's a bad situation.
Melita Charlatan for John. Pretty much just a body in his deck, right?
Yeah, the Charlatan's not the best. I mean, I think he has a couple of spells he could maybe copy. He has a Griptide.
Okay.
I think. A Time to Feed.
That would be pretty filthy.
Yeah. I think this isn't going to be the game that Game 1 was. I mean...
Well, this is Samuel's chance to come back.
Right.
Scratch his way back into the game.
Right, but I don't think he drew the land this turn. Yeah, I don't think he has any real chance. Oh, John again, not shaking hands because he's sick.
Oh, okay, yeah. Samuel perhaps a little prematurely scooping there in frustration, but I mean,
I don't fault him. People tell me I scoop too early sometimes too, but
Yeah.
you're not going to win that game. You know that. And I think there's value in being able to go outside, clear your head, maybe get a bite to eat if you lose this quickly. Coming back a little fresher to the next round.
And Marshall's not here. I mean, we can be like, yeah, you could scoop that.
No, I know a lot of pros, not just Marshall, are of the never scoop philosophy, but I don't agree with it. I think that even if you're scooping away a 1/4% chance to win or something like that, if that allows you to go get a bite to eat, get some coffee, clear your head, relax. Magic tournaments are long.
Right.
The mental endurance it takes to make it all the way through and play well all the way through is not easy.
Yeah,
I've been playing these things regularly since I was 15 years old, and I don't play as well in the last round as I do in the first.
Right.
So if I get the opportunity to scoop a game that I almost certainly can't win, but even still have an inkling of shot, but scoop that inkling away to be able to go and have a bite to eat and relax for a little bit, I'm okay with that,
Yeah, I mean, I think it's it's funny. People at home, watching people play Magic in these events, you'll see them get down to the late rounds, and you'll see someone like, why did he do that? Why did it's like this is a mental
tough.
marathon.
Mm-hmm. I remember, I told Owen that after he made a mistake in the top 8 of PT Gate Crash, he looked like he took a little comfort in that because it's the truth. I know a lot of GP top 8s. I've made some plays by the top 4 or by the top 8 that I was not proud of, and they're plays I wouldn't have made in round 5.
Right.
But after playing 14 matches of Magic, it's hard.
Right. And not always the best sleeping conditions.
No, I'm not the best at sleeping either, but I'm not going to use that as an excuse because, everybody has to be up at the same time. It's more just the mental exhaustion from playing so many rounds.
Right. So it looks like we're going to get a chance a little later on, maybe to come back and watch Mark Calvaldi and Reid Duke playing.
Oh, that should be good. From what I saw, they had the 2 best decks I saw out of their pod.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with Mark.
Yeah.
I think he's handled him someone who's never played at this
level,
this deeply into day 2 at a Grand Prix, and has never been to the Pro Tour. He's really just handled himself really well, and I think has a card evaluation sense that I think is something you would appreciate. He seems pretty practical about his card choices.
So, without watching him draft, obviously I can't really say, but I saw both his draft decks today, and they both looked fantastic.
Yeah.
His blue-green deck that he 3-0'd pod 1 with earlier, I believe, was the best deck in the pod. I saw just about everyone's deck.
Right.
Most impressed with his. This draft deck I haven't seen everyone's decks yet, but his deck looks really good. Yeah. Another really good deck.
Yeah, it's funny, a card like Mischief and Mayhem, which is sort of he was like, well, you know what, that's my last card in my deck. And his mentality, he's like, look, I understand how this card is evaluated currently. I think it's probably a little tiny bit underrated, and I think that in the context of my deck, I can really make it work. I was impressed hearing him, talk about that.
If your deck has a lot of small creatures and doesn't have a lot of 5 and 6 mana creatures or finishers, I think there's nothing wrong with playing a Mischief and Malek. I think the reason that it's often wrong to play that card is because green often has a lot of 5 and 6 drops.
Right.
And I certainly wouldn't want to look at a hand that had, let's say on the 3rd turn, I'm looking at my hand and I have a Nessian Asp, I've got a Nemesis of Mortals, and I've got a Mischief and Mayhem in my hand.
Those things come pre-Mischief and Mayhem.
Right. But in a deck like John's in this draft, for example, where he has 3 Swordwise Center and 6 2-drops,
it would be pretty sweet.
I would love to play a Mischief and Mayhem in John's deck.
So both players have capped here, and we're underway. Deshawn leads off with a Mountain, and Jackie Lee leads off with a Loyal Pegasus. It's a card that's gone up and down in valuation over the course of since Born of the Gods release.
I like it. The reason I like it is because you play it on turn 1 when you wouldn't have done anything, right. So you're almost not investing in it.
It's almost like
at
you're
all.
suspending a 2 damage.
Exactly. And there isn't that much good cheap removal in this format, so more often than not, it's going to get to attack or block.
Right. Although Deshawn here has Magma Jet for the Traveling Philosopher.
Sure.
But, I mean, maybe that upset about having your Traveling Philosopher Magma Jet.
No, I mean, he's having to spend a removal spell on a 2-mana 2/2 just to prevent that Loyal Pegasus from attacking.
Right.
So, I mean,
controlling your opponent's plays, forcing your opponent to play on your script is a big part of what we've seen time and time again this weekend.
Yeah, and it definitely adds value if you're forcing them to use their removal spell on vanilla 2-mana 2/2s.
Right.
I mean, removal is considered at a premium because of its ability to take out your best cards, not for its ability to take out your 2-mana 2/2s.
Jackie Lee scuffling a little bit from mana, no 3rd land, but has another Traveling Philosopher.
Yeah, and I can see her hand does not have a lot of casting cost. I think she has a Cavalry Pegasus, I think she has a Ferris Band Trumper or something like that.
Okay. I think a Dauntless Onslaught.
Yeah. So I think she can cast most of her hand with not too many more lands. I think she's going to have to find maybe one more, maybe two more.
Yeah, there might be a Nessie and Asp there.
Yeah. But in the meantime, putting on plenty of pressure.
Right. Calvaldi Pegasus joins the party. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
And there goes that pressure.
Angry, angry gods.
That's a game changer.
That's not.
Didn't see that coming.
The old Anger of the Gods Springleaf Drum sequence.
Springleaf Drum's not a card I like a lot. It does combo well with Inspire,
right?
But so does attacking with your Inspire guys.
Yep.
I'm generally only. It's going to take a lot of really specific circumstances for me to play Springleaf. I'm generally only going to play it if I have both several Inspire guys and maybe a splash color.
I like it sometimes when I have like the Nessie and Asps and I don't have the Voyaging Satyr or the as a mana accelerator.
Just
I'm not.
I know.
With it.
Build your own Birds of Paradise is not what you're trying to do in Limited.
Sure.
If you want to cast a Birds of Paradise, just cast a Birds of Paradise. If you don't have one, trying to assemble one is probably not a good goal. You're probably better off just playing your 17 or 18 land, maybe choosing to draw first and just casting your Nessie and Asp on turn 5.
Fine.
Yeah.
Fine, Ben Stark.
Yeah. Meat and potatoes.
So Trumper attacks into Porphyro's Emissary. Deshawn looks Jackie in the eye, says, "You got something. I'm not going to block here." And Anvil Wrought Raptor comes down.
And it depends what Deshawn has, because sure, she probably might have something, but it's just going to grow to a 4/4. It's going to attack again.
Right.
Deshawn is up cards after 3-for-1ing her with that anger, but he's not going to win this race.
Right. He's at 13. Another Porphyro's Emissary. But Jackie gets in for 6 this turn.
So you got to know, if you're Jackie in a spot like this, that Deshawn is up to something, right? Because he's not trading 3 for 6 when he's up cards and down life already. So there's a reason he didn't block. I don't know what it is. He could have any trick that he could cast in the format, or he might have some plan for next turn that's going to stop her board. But he's got something. And that's important. If you're in a spot like Jackie's, you have to think like he definitely has something here.
Right.
Is it still right for me to attack? Do I have something after he has something?
Right. So what we see is a Battle-Wise Valor. And Jackie is going to come over the top here with Dauntless Onslaught. She's going to get in for 2 extra damage on the Anvil Raptor. And her Ferris Band Tromper becomes a 6, which is just enough to take down the 5/5 Porphyro's Emissary.
Right, and knowing most tricks give 1 or 2 power, not 3, she knew that she'd be able to come back over the top with that Dauntless Onslaught.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario for her there really isn't one. Like, if it's Lightning Strike, okay, he's still getting 2 for 1.
Right. Deshawn is down to 9 here. He's got a Necroan Skyguard. Now, I think I saw a Glare of Heresy in Jackie's...
Yeah, so I'm going to assume she has something else she can cast, or she would have probably glared the Skyguard.
Right.
All right, well...
So it puts 4 power in front of the 5/5.
So this is a pretty easy pass now, and let's see what Deshawn is up to.
So Crone Skyguard is first in the Congo line.
And Deshawn has a Titan Strength.
And Last Breath. So she has a couple of things. Oh, but he also has a Battle-Wise Valor.
Yeah, but even after all of this...
He's still going to lose his...
2, 4... No, wait, it's going to get to 6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wow, no, this Skyguard's going to live, I think. So Deshawn may be able to turn this game.
Wow. Right, because it gets 1 additional toughness from the Titan Strength and 2 additional toughness from the Battle-Wise Valor. And that's a very, very dead Tromper.
Right, the Trumper's going to die. Everything Deshawn has is going to live, and he's just going to take 2 damage. Deshawn did use everything he had, though.
Right, and now after all of that, we're going to Glare of Heresy, the Sky Guard.
Okay. So the dust is settled, and Deshawn's at 7, facing a 2-1, and Jackie's at 17, facing a 3-3. Good game.
That was an exciting turn.
Yeah. Wow, despite double scrying, Deshawn still drew a land, though. I mean, I didn't get to see both those scries, but I got to imagine he put land on the bottom.
Yeah.
You'll take pretty much any spell at this point.
Yeah, you'll take anything. Far's Warden. The card I feel like I've played more in Born Theros than I ever did in Triple Theros.
I'm not a fan.
Yeah,
I gotta be honest.
I don't start it ever, but I've definitely sided it in.
I think it gets played more now, not because it's actually even better, but because there's less playables in Born than there is in Theros, so frequently you just need a 23rd more.
Sure. So Glare on both sides of the table. Glare takes down the Warden. There's a Wingsteed Rider.
Yeah, Deshawn running into the problem that Jackie has flyers, which is 3-3, isn't really going to stop.
It looks like he may have just drawn a follow the hammer.
Well, if he did, I'm not really sure what he would be thinking about. Certainly.
He did.
Yeah, he should certainly be following the Wingsteed. I guess he's deciding whether he's going to do it now or on her turn.
Yeah.
And now is the right answer because there's no reason for her to do anything. She would just turn her 2 creatures.
Right.
If she had a pump spell,
I
it's
had no reason to
going
let
to
her
kill him
untap
anyway.
her mana and have access to a wider range of cards.
I mean, I guess maybe if she has a bestow guy, you can respond to the bestow on whichever one and get another draw step. So actually, maybe he should have waited on the fall. I'm not really sure.
Deshawn is at 1. Jackie plays a Pegasus.
Second flyer. It's pretty important. Yeah, that, you know, a lot of times I like to compliment players on using the removal on their turn so they avoid blowouts. In this exact spot, I think Deshawn probably could have waited till her turn because he can't beat any pump spell anyway because if she draws it, she can just kill him.
Right.
So, but on the other hand, if she had a bestow card, she goes to bestow it on one of her guys, he kills that one. And if she doesn't bestow pre-combat, he kills in combat.
Right.
And then he lives to see another turn.
Right.
So I think in that case, Deshawn could have probably waited.
And Deshawn falls to X and 3, so that knocks him out of contention for top 8. But Jackie Lee still very much alive. She has to find 2 more wins in the the last 2 rounds of the Swiss.
Yeah.
We see Reid Duke with a black deck, black, blue, green deck.
Yeah, I mean, I saw his deck, and even though it would appear that he is 3 colors at the moment, he's not really.
He's just like maybe splashing for the Farika's Mender.
Yeah, and the blue I believe is just to activate Return Phalnix.
Oh,
I'm not even sure if he has a single blue card. If he does, it's 1 or 2 total cards.
Right.
Reid's deck is almost mono black.
And Mark Calvaldi is also playing blue black.
Yeah, and also almost mono black from what I saw.
Right. He has 2 Heroes Downfall.
Yeah, his deck looked really good. Yeah, and Reid has 2 Gray Merchant.
Yeah, oh well. That seems like it might be Trump here.
Yeah. I mean, Heroes Downfall, the better constructed card, although Gray Merchant's pretty good constructed too. But in Limited, I don't know which one of those I'd rather have. They're both so good.
Comes a pretty cheap... oh, he's going to Mender back a Mender.
That's filthy.
Next turn, I think he can Mender again, get back Marshmist Titan, and just start playing Marshmist Titans for a single black.
This just sounds filthy.
Reid's down to 5, though. So that flyer is
threatening
to clock him.
Yeah, and I don't know if Mark has Gray Merchant or not. I don't remember whether I saw that or not.
He doesn't have one.
So this could be a pretty close game. Going on the assumption that Reid doesn't have second Gray Merchant or any way to deal with that flyer.
Right. So you Baleful Eidolon the...
Well, the problem with blocking is that you know it can get freaking Mendered back.
Yeah.
So you really don't want to block the Mender and let him Mender the Mender. You could definitely block the Orobos Emissary. I guess at this
But
point...
do you want him Mendering that back?
Not really. But, I mean, at this point, I guess Mark's thinking only in terms of turns, like, I need to live for 3 turns so this flyer can kill Reid.
Right.
I don't think he's really that concerned with, like, say, the card advantage that Reid is gaining from Mendering Menders.
Sure.
So, I mean, I don't think this block is necessarily wrong.
So Mark takes 3, goes to 11. We're going to see, an insatiable harpy.
Yeah, Mark not liking that.
No.
There goes the last
He's
plan
like,
for
well,
victory.
I had an idea of how this was going to work,
Yeah.
and it did not involve you playing that card.
Well, it looks like he drew Hero's Downfall, so it looks like most likely he's got to kill the Harpy and get back on that 2-a-turn plan from the Flyer.
Yep. And doesn't waste any time. He's like, yep, that's what I got to do.
Well, you got to know your role sometimes, and he is not going to win this game through attrition, as Reid has got a fistful of Freaka's mendering. Whenever your opponent's mendering their mender, you better be killing them soon.
So Reid draws for the turn.
Mark at 11 life, though. You know, it's going to be close.
Start figuring out how many cards in your opponent's hand, how many of them could be creatures.
Yeah, well, I mean, Mark's got to take it here. Like, he's going to go. If
it's 4 creatures, he's dead.
He's dead. I mean, if he chumped it this turn, then he wouldn't be able to chump it next turn, but he might draw a chump blocker. So actually, I'm not really sure. Maybe he should have chumped it this turn. Because he does get a card out of Reid's hand when that Inspire guy untaps the Flyer.
Yeah.
And he does have the opportunity to draw a chump blocker on his next turn.
Wow.
And if he blocked the Emissary twice, he could probably win this game with his Flyer. So I'm not actually sure whether I like that, taking it there or not. I don't think I do.
Mark's at 4, though, now.
Yeah, and he did draw a land. So if he attacks, he's dead on board, which basically means he's dead because he can't block with the Flyer and win this game.
Oh, and rescue from the underworld.
Making it academic.
Yeah. Get back a Mender and a Gray Merchant. Oh. Reid Duke's going to even this up at a game apiece.
Which is sweet because it means we get a game 3.
We get a game 3, yeah. Mark, I think are the game scores correct here? I don't believe they are. I believe Mark Calvaldi is undefeated.
Yeah.
And Reid Duke is the one with the loss. So we're going to get that corrected. Mark Calvaldi's actually 12-0, the last undefeated player in the tournament. He only needs 1 win in these last 3 rounds to lock up his top 8 berth. Reid Duke can lose 1 match. He needs to win 2 and can lose 1.
Right. And I haven't seen their whole pod, but I did see both of their decks, and I think these could be 2 of the best decks in their pod going out at round 1. So even the one who loses here, even if it is Reid, he's still very alive to 2-0 and top 8.
See them sideboarding. Are there any other matches on the back table? Is this the last match in the feature match area? Yeah. Yeah, this is the last one. How much time is left in the round? Just out of curiosity. Just only 11 minutes.
Yeah, a draw is interesting because you never know if X2-1 is going to be good enough or not.
I mean, we're pretty sure it's
not
sure
in this
it's
one.
Not.
Yeah.
Right? These guys might have an extra minute or so based on, getting set up.
Sure, and I mean, neither of them seem like slow players.
No.
So, I mean, I imagine if they have 10 minutes, let's say, to play this game, there's a good chance it'll finish.
Sure, but you also saw the decks that they're playing. I mean, they can sort of stalemate, right? The board can kind of lock down.
Definitely some grindy games.
Yeah, when you're mendering your menders.
And Mark's got all that removal, the double Hero's Downfall.
It's an interesting matchup, actually, the Hero's Downfalls versus the Menders.
Yeah, well,
versus the Rescue.
I'm not sure that Reid actually started the Menders. I think he might have boarded them in after seeing that Mark has all that removal.
Let's take a look. Oh, you are correct. Reid brought green in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not psychic. I went over and talked to Reid in between rounds.
Why do you got to show people the zipper and the monster suit?
Yeah.
Just be a monster. All right, we're underway here. Guys are obviously aware of the clock, not wasting any time. Baleful Eidolon for Mark Calvaldi. And a Nyxborn Eidolon for Reid Duke. Yeah, basically Reid was only playing a Griptide and his own Siren of the Silent Song as his blue cards.
Yeah, they were both almost mono black. I saw that. Reid was basically playing blue, like you said, 1 or 2 cards and return Phalanx, and Mark also 1 or 2 blue cards, I think, and return Phalanx. I think they may have boarded more in for this little firefight they have going here.
So Mark chooses to block and trade, and then he nullifies the Servant of Timurat, but has no turn 4 play. Both of them say go. There's a Fellhide Minotaur for Calvaldi.
And that's actually a really subtle good play Mark just made. He has Triton Tactics in hand, does not have Pharika's Cure in hand, I don't believe, and he left up black and not a blue. Maybe he does have Cure too. Oh, never mind. Well, let's pretend he does have Cure, but let's pretend he didn't. I would still like that play because you're communicating a card you don't have. You're broadcasting a card you don't have in that situation, and you're not going to use Triton Tactics on your Fellhide Minotaur. What is Reid going to do? Main phase Lash of the Whip your Fellhide Minotaur? So, I mean, it is very valuable sometimes to represent something you don't have as opposed to something you do have.
Right. Bile Blight clears the way for the Fellhide Minotaur. We know Servant of Timurat's coming down, but Reid takes this opportunity to read the bones. And look at the card disadvantage here.
Yeah, in this point, I love to be in Reid's shoes. You're only facing a 2/3. You're drawing cards.
Right. And you have all sorts of insane cards in your deck that get you back into the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and the Fellhide Minotaur can't even attack through the Servant right now.
And to be honest, I'm not sure why Mark either brought in or didn't board out Triton Tactics. It doesn't seem like it's much of a performer in this matchup.
Right.
It is excellent in some matchups. And
Do you block here?
Yeah, probably. I mean, assuming this block usually comes down to whether or not you have more spells in hand. If your hand is just loaded with gas, then you usually block because you're not that worried about being able to regenerate and things like that. If your hand is, like, let's say mostly land, then you take it because you know in the future your guy's really a 1/3 regenerator because you're going to have the 3 to regenerate it. I don't know if Reid did or didn't block.
I don't believe he did. Marshmist Titan for Calvaldi, and then an Insatiable Harpy for Reid Duke. Yeah, and he can regenerate, so that Marshmist Titan is not super threatening. Takes 2, but really takes 1 because the Servant of Timurat's going to untap.
Yeah, and if Mark doesn't have anything, he would get to untap with the Harpy.
Yeah, but Pharika's Cure takes down the Harpy.
Which is kind of another upside to blocking. The only cards that are really relevant there are like Boon, Turobos, and Pharika's Cure. And if you know you're about to play an Insatiable Harpy, you can pull the Cure with the block.
Right.
I don't know if Reid just drew the Harpy or not, or if he knew that or not. I might block a little too much in spots like that. I mean, I tend to make people have it a lot. I'm not that big on playing around things until they've already went out of their way to represent that they have that.
Yeah. Strike Harpy from Reid Duke. What do? You just sack a Fellhide Minotaur?
Probably. I mean, a 2/3 ground creature probably worth less than +2/+2 to a flyer.
Right. Can he actually Triton Tactics and eat that Servant of Timurat?
Yeah, and he almost certainly will because it has the ability to regenerate and stop the Titan, and it's gaining life every turn.
Right. Fleetfoot Sandals for Reid.
That's an interesting one from Reid here. I feel like against a deck with removal, and you're the deck with the card advantage, you don't necessarily want a Sandal.
Right.
Not really sure why that's in Reid's deck. I mean, maybe he saw some cards in game 1 we didn't see.
Well, I guess also with all the Pharika's Menders. Like maybe he just wants to be able to like play them, activate them, fly over. Like,
why do they need flying or haste? I don't know. I feel like if you're recurring Pharika's Menders, you're probably winning. That's probably. I'm more worried about the game where I cast a Sandals instead of a creature, and then I have a Pharika's Mender in my hand and no ability to gain value from the Mender.
Well, no shortage of creatures from Reid Duke. He plays Return Phalanx and Grey Merchant of Asphodel, gains 5 life, drains Mark for 5.
Yeah, I mean,
and really solidifies his his position on the ground.
Mark's just being outclassed at the moment. Insatiable Harpy, Gray Merchant.
Do you double block here and kill the Marsh Mist?
I think that I want to. It's somewhat risky. I guess it really just depends on what's in your hand. It depends on if you're afraid of him having something there or not.
Reid Duke taps 4 mana. Plays a Marsh Mist Titan of his own. Fleetfoot sandals it up. Swings for 6.
This is actually a good indication of why I don't like cards like the Sandals. Look what it's doing, right? It's being productive in a game that you're winning by a good amount and could win with, pretty much anything. But imagine the game where you're on your back foot. That is just not a card. It just doesn't do anything, And I know that a second Merchant, and I know this isn't a fast matchup, and I know that's why Reid thinks it's okay here because, Mark's not an aggro deck and whatnot. But I don't know.
Drain for 5, attack for 4.
Double Gray Merchant, pleasure doing business with you.
Yeah. I have so many Gray Merchants I can afford to play this Fleetfoot Sandals.
Right.